So let's talk about economics. Who is John Maynard Keynes? His birth in 1883 and the same year Marx died, it seemed to signal his destiny as the great man of economics. He was born in an affluent intellectual family in Cambridge. His mother, who finally became the first female mayor of the town, committed herself to charitable works for less privileged people. His father was an economist and a philosopher who is lecturer in moral sciences at the University of Cambridge. Keynes studied at Eton College and at King's College. He received a bachelor in mathematics in Cambridge in 1905. He was elected an academician of King's College in 1909. With the favorable academic atmosphere and positive guide, Keynes found himself talented and became interested about economics. An economic analyst in the India office, he was required to work in India for the next 2 years while probing his probability theory. Keynes found his job in India boring and resigned to work in Cambridge on probability in 1908. The editor of the Economics Journal, a considerable honor. As a teacher at Cambridge, Keynes began lecturing at Cambridge University 3 times a week on money, credit, and prices in 1909. For the decision of returning to Cambridge, instead of continuing his job in India, Keynes has got profound academic attainments and many opportunities. As the financial manager of Britain's war effort during World War I, he did a great job. However, his highly controversial book, The Economic Consequences of Peace, we will explain that later. After his representative work, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, published, he has received a lot of offers and awards. The country's chief economic representative to the United States and international fora. The first president of World Bank. Honorary Doctor of Laws. Be awarded a peerage with the title of Baron Keynes of Tilton. As the father of macroeconomics, Keynes contributed a lot during his career. The economic consequences of the peace. Keynes identified the irrationality of the Allies for the punitive damages they had imposed on Germany at the end of the war in this book, The Economic Consequences of the Peace. The fact of inflation is one of the consequences Keynes had predicted in this book. The book brought fame to Keynes but also brought him into a situation that will be hostile by many political camps. It has ruined his chances of obtaining. There are also some people arguing that it is because of Keynes' opinion that Germany had the excuse to start the war. But his worry was proven to be well-founded when World War II began. For Keynesianism, the core of Keynesianism is to reach the full employment state of the society, and Keynes believed that the level of production and employment depended on the level of aggregate demand. Keynes also considers that the fundamental reason why capitalism cannot achieve full employment is the lack of social demand and new investment. His ultimate goal is to raise national income to full employment in order to solve capitalism's problems of unemployment and overproduction. The best way to deal with unemployment and revive the economy is government intervention. The government should adopt a deficit fiscal policy and an expansionary monetary policy to expand government spending and lower the interest rate. With the stimulating consumption and increasing investment, the goal of increasing demand and full employment can be achieved. Now, let's talk about his significance to economics. After the outbreak of the Great Crisis in the United States, Roosevelt's New Deal coincided with Keynesianism. They both advocated state intervention in economy, and this led to the emergence of a new form of state intervention economy. The deficit policy advocated by Keynes and in economics growth driven by state investment alleviated the disaster caused by the crisis of capitalism in the short term. Some major capitalist countries have entered the stage of state monopoly capitalism after World War II. To get rid of the crisis, Western countries used fiscal and monetary levers, issued a variety of economics laws, set up a variety of economic regulatory agencies to regulate social reproduction process. Germany and Japan chose the undemocratic path of fascism through military expansion, looting other social classes and setting up highly authoritarian centralization. Some people wrongly believe that Keynesianism represents absolute order and despotism, or even suspect that Keynes has military economic tendency. This kind of distortion has led to worldwide misunderstanding of Keynesianism. Today's governments are generally in a state of high debt. If they choose totally free economic instead of stimulating the economy using the government, they can only choose to default on their debts, which will cause huge damage to governmental credibility. From the people's point of view, the connection between ordinary people and companies has become closer and more significant. If businesses were allowed to bankrupt freely, it will inevitably lead to unemployment and debts. The reason why a country could choose between Keynesianism and non-Keynesianism a few decades ago is that the financial industry was not so deeply bound to the outside world. But in nowadays situation, to reach the social stability, countries have no choice but Keynesianism.